All right, so we've got an interesting topic to talk about now. So as you guys know, this was inevitable, very obviously. The Democratic Party would start thinning out. It would start to cut the fat. Because you can't have these debates with 2 nights and there's like 5 trillion candidates. You can't do that for all that long because there's nothing really substantive going on in those debates. When you have a sort of system like that, if you will. So, we're going to be looking at the candidates who have dropped out, the candidates who have qualified for the debate stage, and the interesting candidates who have both not qualified for the debate, but also haven't dropped out. Those are the weird ones. But, to make this next debate, which is going to be one night, it will be 10 only candidates. It says candidates need 130,000 donors in 4 polls showing them at 2% or higher to qualify for the September and October debates. So the people who qualified are Joe Biden, Cory Booker, Pete Buttigieg, Julian Castro, Kamala Harris, Amy Klobuchar, Beto O'Rourke, Bernie, Warren, and Yang. So some of these are a bit surprising. Like, I didn't even know Booker was really polling at 2%, although I guess he was probably polling at around 2%. He and Klobuchar, I don't know who supports these people. I don't know. It's weird. And Pete's campaign is really sort of synthetic. Ever since the jump, it's really been fake. Ever since the jump. It was always a campaign that was fakely concocted to be this, establishment-run campaign. Nobody actually really supports Pete Buttigieg. It's just that there's a perception of that because the mainstream media has pushed him so hard. He also, by the way, there was that story about him courting super delegates. So, watch out for what Pete Buttigieg is trying to plan out here. There were also early on reports of DNC meetings with Pete Buttigieg. So the guy's an interesting dude. Here it lists the people who are part the way there. It has Tulsi Gabbard, Tom Steyer, and Marianne Williamson. Now, to my knowledge, none of these 3 have dropped out. Tulsi Gabbard, is really close to making the debates. It's sad that Tulsi didn't make it because she was obviously a very good voice on the debate stage. I'm really happy Tom Steyer didn't make it because to me, Tom Steyer really represents everything wrong with our country, which is that you can just buy your way into politics if you're rich. I find that to be extremely problematic, and so I'm ecstatic that Tom Steyer did not make it. And Marianne Williamson is also a lunatic, so I don't really care about her. In fact, I'm glad she didn't make it either. I don't like Marianne Williamson. And then it says, not even close. Michael Bennett, the guy who talks really, really weird. He sounds like a South Park character. It's really funny. Really boring. Steve Bullock, Bill de Blasio, John Delaney, and Tim Ryan. Okay, those are the people who are not even close. Now, I actually kind of like Bill de Blasio. I was surprised by Bill de Blasio because when I was watching the debate, I sure as hell didn't expect Bill de Blasio to be as progressive as he was sounding. I mean, he was just, talking about how we need Medicare for all. Basically, it just sounded like Bernie Sanders 2.0, which was dope. His points went up a lot in my book. And my understanding is he's not really the Cuomo type, which is obviously a good thing. So I have to say, I was really impressed by Bill de Blasio's performance in the previous debate. I was not impressed by Michael Bennett. If you don't know Michael Bennett, he's a blue dog Democrat. He's basically, like a centrist / slightly conservative Democrat. Remember when he went off on Ted Cruz? That was actually the first time that I had found out about him. And that speech was epic. And it was actually even more epic because he's a blue dog Democrat. Because it meant wow, a little centrist Democrat has had so much trouble with Ted Cruz that he's letting loose on him. That was dope. But he sucks as a presidential candidate. Again, like I said, he's like a down-the-line middle centrist is what he is, a blue dog Democrat. So obviously we don't want him. Steve Bullock was also a very weird guy. And then you're talking about John Delaney's a horrible, horrible person. He's benefited from the health insurance industry, so he's trying to keep that alive to keep his own profits going. And Tim Ryan was also someone who's like that too, where he was, trying to basically fight back Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All. And I want you to take a look at the face of John Delaney here. I mean, he really is a weird-looking guy. To me, he looks like he got electrocuted, and he's in the process of trying to figure out who he is, where he is in his surroundings. But John Delaney is hands down the worst candidate. And we'll talk about, I'll list off the candidates who dropped out. I may be missing a couple here, but I think there's pretty much all of them. So Seth Moulton dropped out. If you don't know Seth Moulton, he's also a down-the-line, more conservative-ish Democrat, centrist Democrat, blue dog type Democrat. He dropped out. Kirsten Gillibrand also dropped out. By the way, with Kirsten Gillibrand, I explained to you, you can even go back and watch the video I did on her campaign announcement. I explained to you that her campaign was doomed from day one because there was no group of people who supported Gillibrand, and there were like leaked reports. There were reports that were leaked in her camp where they were panicking because they weren't getting any donors and support because of her move against Al Franken. So if you don't recall, Kirsten Gillibrand actually demanded that Al Franken resign, and dude, the neoliberals did not like that. They don't like that because Al Franken was their hero. Now, I'm a bit of an agnostic on that situation, so let me know your thoughts on that down below, whether or not what happened to Al Franken should have happened. But that's what happened, okay? Obviously, Bernie supporters aren't going to support her because Bernie's a lot better, and she doesn't have the record Bernie does, or the positions. And the neoliberals aren't going to because she took down their hero. So she was doomed from the jump. John Hickenlooper also dropped out. John Hickenlooper is one of the centrist Democrats. He's a big fracker, by the way. So keep that in mind as well. Love destroying our climate. Two sad dropouts actually were Jay Inslee and Mike Gravel. Now, if you don't know Jay Inslee, well, you should know Jay Inslee. He was actually dope, man. And it seemed like he supported Medicare for All to me when he was on the debate stage on that with Bernie Sanders, and he was defending him. You know, it was awesome. It was really awesome when he was on the debate stage. Now, his main issue was climate change, but when he was defending Medicare for All and just sort of changing the status quo, I was like, wow, I really like Jay Inslee. So, Jay is dope. He's governor of Washington. They have a public option in their state, I believe, so they're putting in some work over in Washington, dude. They're putting in some work over in Washington, so shout out to Jay Inslee. And then Mike Gravel had also dropped out, so he dropped out. His plan was never to win. He wasn't running to win. He just wanted to endorse the most progressive candidate was his goal. So, and, you know, he ended up doing it was weird. Like, the teens of his campaign endorsed Bernie, but then apparently he wanted to, like, half endorse Tulsi or something like that. It was kind of a weird situation. I don't know if there are any candidates I dropped out that I missed. Now, I'm not sure. I don't think so, but it could be possible. If they're not, they're probably not major ones. But what this means is what we have left now are these guys in the debates. Now, oh boy, this is where it's going to start to get really interesting, guys. So first of all, Beto O'Rourke is a lost cause. Nobody supports Beto. He's already relaunched his campaign 3 times. He's already relaunched his campaign thrice. Nobody supports him. He is the person to be a senator who fights in Texas to win those seats. He's the person to do that, not to be president. He's got delusions of grandeur. He's got a narcissistic personality disorders. Everyone's screaming at him and yelling at him to run for Senate. He refuses to do so. Refuses to do so. So he's a narcissist. His positions, you know, Medicare for, he's not for Medicare for all, etc., etc. Not a fan. Don't like him. Looks like no one else liked him. Both Bernie and Warren are performing pretty darn well. But do not be mistaken. Elizabeth Warren is no Bernie Sanders, and I've been telling you this ever since he launched her campaign, folks. Elizabeth Warren is no Bernie Sanders. There's actually just a report in the New York Times stating that she's privately courting the Democratic establishment. So beware of Elizabeth Warren. She seems to be a bit of a Trojan horse. You know, Julian Castro, not someone I want to be president of the United States. Kamala Harris has a horrible record. She just pivoted away from Medicare for All. Just did a story, like maybe a couple days to a week ago, about how she was in the Hamptons, skipped the climate change debate, panicked, reversed that decision, decided to go to the climate change debate, which ended up being canceled, went to the Hamptons, got a lot of money from rich people, you know, the Kamala Harris way. I ain't supporting anybody who's getting money from the Hamptons, buddy. Simply not doing it. Then you got Amy Klobuchar. Amy Klobuchar is more of a centrist Democrat, okay? She's more of a neo-lib, so I don't even know how she made it to this position. No one cares about Amy Klobuchar. As I told you earlier, Pete Buttigieg, his whole campaign's been synthetic. He's not actually trying to become president. He's just trying to position himself for a higher position than mayor. You know, he probably wants to enter the House or the Senate. So that's what he's gunning for. That's his goal. He's not really trying to be president. He won't be president. Cory Booker's not going anywhere either. No one cares about him. Everyone forgot about him, honestly. In fact, like, the only moment I really remember from him from the debate is when he started speaking Spanish and he sounded like an idiot. Not that his Spanish was all that bad, but the way his accent was horrifyingly bad. Joe Biden, the guy whose brain is literally melting as we speak. I don't know, man. He's going to keep pushing. Then we got Andrew Yang down here. Yang is just a weirdo. I don't really know what to tell you. I don't know what he's going to be able to do, if he's going to be able to do anything. I will say that he's been doing pretty well in the polls, man. To poll at like 3+% consistently, there were some polls, like, there were a good amount of polls that had him at like 3%. That's pretty impressive. And I'm not even memeing. That's actually pretty damn impressive. So I'm definitely impressed by that, but I don't like Yang as a candidate. So, obviously my preferred candidate is Bernie Sanders. What I see happening is Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have a clear beef that's going to be massive. And I just see that as the biggest storyline the next debate. There's really no way around it. Kamala Harris really hates Joe Biden. I'm sure Joe Biden maybe dislikes Kamala, but Kamala really seems to hate Joe Biden. So I see them really clashing. And I don't know if Bernie's going to get into any heated beefs with anyone. A lot of these people are who he would call friends. I think he said Cory Booker was his buddy. And he said Beto was his buddy too, I think. So, Elizabeth Warren obviously is his friend. Like, a lot of these people he's just friendly with, and I don't see any of these people as really going after him like that. Maybe Klobuchar, but I don't know. I mean, I don't really see any heated beefs between Bernie and any of these other candidates other than Joe Biden, really. But Bernie doesn't really beef that hard unless it's like one of those idiots who are really just their goal, like John Delaney or Tim Ryan or one of those morons who are sort of latching on to being these anti-Bernie candidates. But in this next debate, it's going to be one night. It's going to be 10 candidates. These are your 10 candidates. And, Kamala Harris is holding on for dear life right now. That Tulsi Gabbard plus Joe Biden combination that they delivered on Kamala last time really hurt her chances. Her numbers took a nosedive. And, her campaign just in general took a nosedive in terms of publicity, public word, etc., etc. And I'm really interested to see what's going to happen. So there's been a big shakeup in the Democratic 2020 primary. Very curious to see what happens. And it's actually starting to get interesting now, folks. We're down to 10 candidates. And we are going to see what is going to happen. Let me know your thoughts down below. Very curious to hear them.